Okay, last time I walked across the Mojave, I showed the power of my cane. Today, I wonder, can I beat Fallout New Vegas without the Pip-Boy? Let's find out.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Initially, I wanted my name to be No PP, but it sounded a little weird. So, I went with No Pepe. I also decided to play as a girl for this run, which will come in handy later on. When it was time to assign my stats, I had no idea what fate had in store for me. I knew I'd be using speech, but I didn't want to rely on it for the entire game. So I went with Strength 9, just in case I needed to use my fists. Perception 1, I can't think of a single run where I've actually used it. Endurance 10, more health, always welcome. Charisma 1, for no particular reason. Intelligence 10, maxed out for those sweet skill points. Agility 1, and Luck 8. I was planning to hit the casinos to earn money and buy implants. Well, that never happened. When I was selecting my skills, I went with Science, useful once I got my hands on an energy weapon, Speech because why not, and Survival. I've always liked the Travel Light perk, especially now that I can't fast travel. Choosing my traits was as easy as ever. I picked Good Nature to balance a few skills, and Wild Wasteland because I didn't know what else to choose. Okie dokie, let me explain a bit better how this run will work. Basically, I am not allowed to use the Pip-Boy, which means no stimpaks, no changing armor, no equipping weapons. In other words, I'm skipping some of the most basic mechanics of the entire game. Originally, I had planned to not use vendors or open containers either, but honestly, I don't think those count as accessing the Pip-Boy. You're just interacting with someone else's inventory, really. With that out of the way, you'll probably notice I was collecting every item possible from the doctor's house. That's because I had my eye on an implant later on, and I was going to need a whole lot of caps for it. Next, I went to the cemetery to grab the snow globe. When I finally entered the saloon, I met Sun Smiles, who gave us our first weapon. Just like with the Vault suit, when the game gives it to you, you're automatically equipped. No Pip-Boy required, so that's pretty nice. After completing the tutorial, I met Trudy and Joe Cobb. And in that moment, I discovered the most important object of my journey, fixing Trudy's radio. I had no idea if I had enough repair skill, but I took a shot anyway. Next, I met Ringo, who was as friendly as ever. I agreed to help Ben deal with the powder gangers, and I recruited everyone I could. Sonny, Trudy, and Dr. Mitchell. Finally, the battle was afoot. Please ignore my poor aim. Even the enemies took pity on me by not attacking like they usually do. Oh man. At level 2, I boosted the survival to 45, and I put the rest into speech. For my perk, I chose the Black Widow. Extra damage against males and, well, let's just say it came with some additional benefits for later. My plan for this run was to side with Caesar's Legion. Why? Because Yes Man is too easy, Mr. House, despite being my favorite, is a bit dull, and the NCR route would have required more traveling than I care to admit. On my way to Hidden Valley, I got attacked, so I ducked into a bunker to heal, without the Pip-Boy mind you. Next up, I paid a visit to the Brotherhood of Steel. I wasn't planning to destroy them just yet. All I needed was a free pass for later. Now, normally, showing up without Veronica ends with you standing around in your underwear. and that's a bit of a problem when you can't equip anything manually. And at that point, I only had a vault suit and a farmer's rifle. Since I was planning on getting better gear later anyway, letting them strip me down now actually made sense. I completed the quest by destroying the radio and left as soon as we were on good terms. From there, I took the Black Mountain path and started to worry. What if the Legion didn't like me for some reason? What if I had already messed something up? Well, I couldn't count on them completely. I needed a backup plan. So I made the long trek to Red Rock Canyon to meet the Great Khans. Just in case I need a path through Yes Man if things went south. While I was at it, I discovered you can go over this little mountain, rock formation. I don't know, to avoid the fiends entirely. I'm so used to walking the proper routes that every shortcut feels like a revelation. As soon as I met Papa Khan, I turned around and ran all the way back to continue my mission, which was, at the moment, leveling up. At the 188 trading post, I casually woke a merchant up just to sleep in his bed. Very polite of me, I know. Next, I headed straight to Boulder City to help the folks there. When I met Jessup, the game kinda reminded me that I didn't have enough speech. But thankfully, just getting there completes a couple of quests. Free XP and with it, a couple more levels. At level 3, I increased speech to 45 and science to 55. I also hit level 4 shortly after and bumped science up to 70, finally selecting the travel light perk. Before leaving the building, I convinced Jessup to release the hostages and talked the NCO out of opening fire. Look, level 5 already! I dumped all my points into science, bringing it up to 85. Wow, being an NCR ranger is a tough gig, huh? After that, I headed to Hoover Dam to grab the snow globe. Purely for resale, of course. I still had a few more miles to run before reaching Camp Golf, where I picked up the key card to access Mr. House's domain. But I wasn't ready to head into Freeside just yet. Instead, I sprinted past a few locations to grab some XP from map markers. Not too long after that, I wondered, can I pass by the Boomer's bombardment without moving my camera? Let's find out. To my surprise, I actually managed to do it. Honestly, I expected to get stuck behind some random car and die in the dumbest way possible. Alright. I met the Boomers, then headed straight to the schoolhouse to grab the snow globe. After that, it was off to Freeside. I made a quick stop at the Crimson Caravan to grab my reward from Ringo and sold some junk to Blake. Oh, and of course, I sold some junk to the gun runners as well. Inside Freeside, I entered the old Mormon fort to collect the snow globe hidden there. Since I figured I could use a few more levels, I decided to complete the King's Quest line real quick. First, investigate Oris and his shady squad scam. Then, talk to some locals about soldiers roughing them up. And finally, met with Elizabeth Kieran. Back to the king. That's when I found out Pacer had a side hustle going on, and the king didn't know a thing about it. Oh well, nothing a little honest conversation can't fix. I completed the GI Blues quest and hit level 6, bumping science to 100 and selecting the toughness perk for better defense. As for the king's favor, I could have gone for caps, but I chose the passport to enter the strip instead. Inside the Luck 38, I greeted the future ex-boss man, and grabbed the snow globe he thought he'd hidden from me. After that, I cashed in my snow globe collection like a true hoarder capitalist, 1000 caps straight to my name. Then I accessed the terminal, and at that point in the game, my fingers were itching to kill something. And, well, Mr. House is something, right? He never saw it coming. At level 7, I increased speech to 60 and headed straight to the tops. And that moment, Benny couldn't help but feel attracted to my persistence and charm. Thanks to the Black Widow perk, we agreed to go upstairs for a little business meeting, but I didn't like the terms, so I killed him in his sleep and took the platinum chip. By the time I hit level 8, I bumped speech to 75 and chose the Bloody Mass perk for some extra flair and extra damage. I was planning on picking up a real weapon soon after all. After that, I played a quick game of cat and mouse with Vulpes. Then I made my way through the Silver Rush. I filled out their job application, not because I wanted to work for them, but because the game automatically equips you with armor and a weapon, plasma or laser, as soon as you accept. And the moment I had the means of destruction in hand, I bailed. Turns out, people don't like when you take their stuff and immediately walk off the job. Who could have guessed? I then killed their marketing guy, mostly to grab some ammo for my shiny new weapon. Surprisingly, the king over here didn't care at all, and I'm pretty sure he got shot. Just a couple more stops before rejoining the main quest. Next, I headed to the New Vegas clinic, where I bought my first and only implant, the subdermal armor for that extra layer of defense. I probably had enough caps for one more implant, but honestly, I was happy with just one. After that, armored with a brand new weapon and some surprisingly solid armor, I sprinted all the way back to the Boomer's base. Once there, I waited until nightfall to make things a little easier, and then proceeded to check out their main leaders. First up was Pearl, who, despite having a grenade launcher, decided it was a bad idea to fight me with her bare hands. Okay. Loyal was next. He usually swings a sledgehammer, but this time he showed up with a knife. What is wrong with these people? And I was genuinely shocked by how much damage I was doing. Maybe it was all the science and intelligence plus the Bloody Mass perk working together? I don't know, probably. With Loyal and Pearl gone, most of the boomers didn't really care. I just jumped this little fence over here, and I was good to go. Now, I didn't want to do the sport just yet, but I was honestly tired of running around, so I made my way back to the fort to recruit Arcade before going to meet Caesar. Thanks to my high speech, it was pretty simple. But on our way to the gates, and I mean all of the Van Graff soldiers suddenly came after me for some unknown reason. Can you believe that? What did I do? At first, I wanted to kill them, but it really didn't seem worth the ammo waste. Arcade though? He was loving it, so I helped out a little. And I looted as many urgent cells as I could from their crispy bodies. I also picked up Emily Orto's quest, to bug the big boss man's office. It was a quickie and easy gig, and hey, it even granted me a level. Nice bonus. At level 9, I correct speech all the way to 90. Next up, the White Glove Society. Since I didn't want to rely on Arcade, I told him to wait outside while I handled the hard part myself. My goal here? Make sure at least one of the leaders was dead, so I wouldn't have to come back later. To provoke them, I refused to disarm, and headed straight for Mortimer, and let's just say it took way longer than it should have. I missed more shots than I care to admit, and I was starting to get legitimately frustrated. The cannibals were swarming me. By the end, I had burned through nearly all my energy cells and most of my health. But Mortimer was finally extra crispy, extra dead. And that made me happy. Yay. I picked Arcade back up and headed to the fountain to regenerate my health. I also very foolishly assumed the monorail guards wouldn't attack me. Boy, was I wrong. Anyway, I made it to Captain McCarran, and from there, I casually jumped my way straight to Rapun HQ. Once inside, I used my vast science skills to hack a very hard terminal. There, I discovered a metal modulator, which I couldn't use. Naturally, what I could use though were the pile of energy cells sitting on top of a safe. And it wasn't just a handful, it was a lot of energy cells. Next up, since I had a working weapon and a somewhat decent armor, I figured it was time to knock out a few more objectives. So I did what any determined adventurer would do. I climbed the mountain. Here, I was planning on sneaking through Black Mountain, nice and quiet, until Arcade randomly killed Neo. He's supposed to be a friendly super mutant, okay? And just like that, the entire mountain decided I was the problem. I'm not the problem. I barely survived the chaos, and since I needed to rest before continuing, I fixed the Ronda, and with Tabitha overjoyed, all the mutants conveniently forgot about the whole "oh, you killed Neo" thing. I crashed next to Raul and hit level 10. I maxed out speech to 100 and put the rest into energy weapons. I also made the questionable choice of taking the Fight the Power perk. Yeah, I probably could have picked something better. Not too long after that, I asked Arcade to wait outside. This is why I met the Brotherhood of Steel earlier. I wanted to make sure they wouldn't take my armor away from me. This time, I remembered to use their own turrets against them, which I never do. Turns out those things are beasts. Next, I activated the self-destruction protocol. Farewell, Brotherhood, until next run. Okay, it was finally time to go to Cottonwood Cove. Man, I don't mind walking games, depending on the game of course, but it gets pretty boring after a while. On our way, we got ambushed by a bunch of geckos, but it was fine. There are more bark than bites when no Pep is around. As soon as we arrived at Cottonwood Cove, I finally took the boat to the fort. I had a plan, but first I needed to calm Arcade down by telling him we'd eventually strike Caesar in the back. Before officially joining the Legion, I had to go through some sort of trials first. But when I got down to the weather station, I realized something. They confiscated my gun. Crap. I totally forgot about that. At least I hadn't upped all my points into energy weapons, right? But I was able to access the terminals to disable the security systems, just to keep things more manageable. Since destroying the generators was an option, I upgraded security trons instead. This This was the moment my endless walking finally paid off. Caesar handed me several quests. Caesar would be giving me several quests, like killing Mr. House, which I had already done. Next, to forge an alliance with the Boomers. But since their leaders were unavailable, going back there wasn't required. And right after that, the goal was to forge an alliance with the White Glove Society. But since Mortimer was dead, that wasn't an option either. Before I could tell Caesar all that, I had to wait outside his tent for about 24 hours. He didn't like hearing that an alliance wasn't possible. He called me a failure. Thanks, Dad. But hey, nothing major there. The Brotherhood of Steel was next. But since their bunker was, destroyed, I had to wait another 24 hours. Then I gave Caesar the good news and he asked me to join him in his tent. But first, I hit level 11. I had no idea where to put my points, so I dumped them into one arm just in case. Inside Caesar's tent, he started talking to me like I was a brain surgeon. I didn't even know how to operate the Pip-Boy, let alone perform lobotomies. But hey, after a few speed checks, I was given the choice to sell my best friend into slavery for 7 caps. Okay, you can have him. Soon after that, I leveled up again, level 12, and put more points into unarmed. Plus grabbed the second stage of the toughness perk for better defense. Now for the most complicated quest without the Pip-Boy, assassinating President Kimball. I knew what I had to do, but I couldn't do it. So I started working on plan B. But first, yeah. Furry people aside, I ran all the way to the rendezvous point to start the assassination mission. The trip was mostly peaceful, just one NCR ranger trying to shake me down for reputation and another who decided to get aggressive out of nowhere. I met Cato Hostilius and right off the bat, I told him I had a plan. Which I did, okay, 100%. Now, I probably could have killed the president with my fist, but his guards would shred me before I even landed a punch. Instead, what I did was fail the quest. I had done some research on this particular mission, and apparently, if you have enough karma with the Legion, they will just look the other way and let you progress to the final mission anyway. And up to this point, I had done a single thing to piss them off. If it worked, great, I'd be happy. If it didn't, well, there is always a yes man. My way back was as peaceful as always. That's fine. Now it was time for the truth. Sorry? Alright! It worked! The Legion forgave my sins. I was a tad worried there, not gonna lie. Okay, time for the final mission. The leg to kick things off with a dramatic sacrifice in the name of Mars, and I proceeded to follow the Legion soldiers across the bridge. The first half was surprisingly easy. The NCR didn't care about me at all. The other half, not so chill. I had to run back to the closest safe points just to regenerate my health every few minutes. After opening the door for the Centurions, I suddenly became kind of invisible. No clue why that happened. I drank more water. Guys, how do we fix this? Oh, you fix this by dying. Okay, that makes sense. Things got pretty rough down there. No faucet in sight, and let's be real, I died a lot, like a lot. After multiple tries, I finally reached Oliver's compound, and for once, I used my speech skill to convince him to flee. There was no way I could beat him down. But in the end, everyone was happy. The general fled, I spoke to the legate over someone's shoulder, and I completed the game without ever using the Pip-Boy. Well, that was fun, especially because I didn't have to side with the Yes Man. I like him, I really do, but it's just a bit too easy sometimes and it gets pretty boring. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. I'm Laniustron. Until next time.
The honor of conquering the land known as California. But for now, we rest. Know that your efforts are appreciated and will not go unrewarded.